5 children a day are in the U.S. alone at the hands of an abusive parent under the watch of a child protective service agency and the judges, the courts. It is unacceptable, inexcusable. My father beat my mother on a regular basis. My mother would beat me, so I know firsthand how difficult it is to live in that type of environment. When you live in that type of environment, your life is stolen. If you're living your abuser's life, kind of, because they set the tone. And I was so used to my parents treating me badly. When people treated me well, I didn't know what to do with that. So I had to create a problem or a bad scene. There's a difference between discipline and abuse. So when you're saying a whooping, that's abuse. I'm Italian, full-blooded Italian, and it's very normal culturally where you get beaten with a wooden cooking stick or the shoe. Discipline instills education. Abuse instills fear. There's a big difference. At Osso Safe, we are empowering the child, where the child can speak out on behalf of their own abuse.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our podcast. In today's episode, I have another amazing guest. Her name is Sabrina Osso. Welcome, Sabrina.
Thank you so much, Suki. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Sabrina Osso is the founder and CEO of Osso Safe, Feel Safe. She's a TEDx speaker, author, and real estate agent, and she's also a professional dancer and teacher who uses her abilities to educate others. She received an award in March of 2024 due to her commitment to protecting children from home violence and encouraging positive relationships at home. So let's go right into it. So Sabrina, can you please tell us about yourself? What's your background like? Where did you grow up? And how do you see yourself basically? Who are you?
I am founder and CEO of Osso Safe. I've had enough therapy. I've been in and out of therapy for quite some time to be comfortable to say that I am a survivor of violence. My father beat my mother on a regular basis. My mother would beat me, so I know firsthand how difficult it is to live in that type of environment. And I'm a dancer, but I couldn't talk about dance. I couldn't mention it in my house because when you live in that type of environment, your life is stolen. Your life is basically stolen. You're not living your life. You're living your abuser's life, kind of, because their rules, they set the tone, and whatever they say, you do. I'm a dancer, but I couldn't even think about it or anything. So it wasn't until I moved out that I started realizing who I was, who I am, Sabrina Osso. So I moved out, and my therapist said to me, Sabrina, you're a dancer. Go dance. So that's what I did. I was taking classes, I was auditioning heavily. I live close proximity to New York City, luckily, so I was able to really train myself, And I was getting gigs, but I started writing my one-woman show called Home Sweet Home, ? I play different women being abused. She goes to her good place, that's where the dancing comes in, but then she's pulled back into the terror of violence. The show ends really strong, really empowering. And Zuki, I did a lot of research for the show, and I could not believe the statistics that I was finding, how common this is. So I said to myself, I need to make this into a business, a bona fide business with products and services that could really help people. So Osso Safe was born out of this one-woman show that I hope to revive one of these days. I'm not a charity. We're not a nonprofit. We respect all of the nonprofits and charities that deal with domestic violence, but We prefer to say home violence. It's more inclusive. You could be living with your mother, your father, your stepmother, stepfather, an aunt, grandparents, your ex, you're in a dormitory. So we prefer to say home violence. It's more people can identify with that better than domestic violence. Those words, domestic violence, has such a stigma that it's a woman's problem, and clearly it is not. And secondly, it assumes that all of the victims are female, and that's not true either. So we prefer to say home violence. Yeah, I said to myself, we're not going to resolve this huge problem of abuse, of violence, by keeping it as a charity. It needs to be a paid service. And we'll talk about this more during the interview, I'm sure. So that way it actually gets resolved. Victims deserve to be treated with respect. All of us do. So I hope I answered the question. I know I kind of jumped around a little bit, but to give a background.
I like how you coined, or rather than calling it domestic violence, you're calling it home violence, because like you said, with domestic violence, a lot of times has this connotation or attribution that it's women, right? Women being violated by their partners. However, children, go through serious violence as well at home. So I think that's very apt. So Sabrina, at what point did you leave home? So your dad was abusive? Was it throughout your childhood? And at what time did you decide to leave home?
21. I was 21. I moved out, and it was very, very difficult. I remember my therapist saying, because I was scared, obviously. I was scared, But my therapist said, Sabrina, there's always going to be a reason to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So when she said that to me, it really hit me. Like, yeah, what am I waiting for? What am I waiting for?
Yeah.
Wait for my parents to change? Wait for, something else will make this better? Nothing was going to make it better. So it was, even at 21, it was way overdue. So at 21, I built my life, and I have to say, I loved the club scene. I'm a dancer, right? And I loved clubbing. Luckily, it was a time in New York where there were many, many clubs, New York City clubs, and I felt so free in the New York City dance scene. I danced, I was going out, it was so freeing and healing, and I was free to dance, because in my house, I wasn't free to do anything. So at 21, is when I started to build my life, or undo the stealing that my parents did of my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm really happy and excited that you left at 21 and you were able to pick up dancing and, and keep going with it.
Right. Yes. Thank you.
How did also, I know you mentioned it briefly, at what point after you moved out of the house did you start?
Yeah, it took a while. It took a while because it goes back to your life being stolen, because you realize, oh my gosh, I behaved this way because of my parents. Like my therapist would, when I was dating, and I was like my therapist would tell me, Sabrina, be careful. You don't want to repeat the same mistakes that your parents did. And when she said it like that, I said, yeah, I don't want to be like them. And, like certain things that I would do or say, I was very much to fight. I wasn't violent ever, but I always argued and fought and created problems where there weren't any. Like if I was going out with somebody and they treated me well, I almost didn't know what to do with that, because I was so used to my parents treating me badly. So it's almost as if when people treated me well, I didn't know what to do with that. So I had to create a problem or a bad scene or complain about something that really, looking back, there was nothing to complain about, but I was so programmed to fight, to argue, that it took me a while to step back and say, let it be okay. Let go, you know.
Yeah.
And also safe. I mean, I was taking classes. I was like I said, I was dancing, catching up on all that time that was stolen. And Also Safe went through a number of name changes that really didn't fit at all. So Also Safe was the fourth name that really stuck. And the business coach that I had at the time, and I went through several, he asked me very deep questions. Like, what do you want to do for people? What is it that you want to do with your business? What do you envision? And he asked me like pretty in-depth questions. And then he said, look at the pattern and see any words that pop. So, and I kept reading safe, safe. And then my name, which is very fitting. And when I brought it back to him, he said, bingo, that's your company name, Also Safe. And you're taking your name, it's a play on words, and it's very easy, and it's very positive, Even though I'm talking about violence, abuse, chaos, dysfunction, verbal, physical, sexual abuse, but you can't build a business on negativity.
True.
You have to use positivity to resolve the negativity. That way it'll catch on, And I didn't realize that until he said it. He made me realize that, And I want to say, like you mentioned, children are at the core of what we do.
Okay.
Because children suffer the most in these circumstances. And I have to say, Zuki, the laws, the courts, the judges, child protective service agencies are horrific.
Wow, really?
Horrific. Yeah. And people need to be educated. There are a few good lawyers, but I can tell you from personal and professional experience, it's horrible. 15 million children in the US alone witness violence in their own homes each and every year. 15 million. Those are just the ones that we know about, just the ones that are documented, if you will. So that means 15 million children have at least one parent that is abusing them, right? Either mom or dad, or stepmom or stepdad. So that is so many people. 5 children a day are killed in the US alone.
Wow.
At the hands of an abusive parent, under the watch of a child protective service agency, and the judges, the courts. It is unacceptable, inexcusable, and with our products and services, we will see to it that is diminished and prevented altogether, really.
So do you work side by side with the legal system, with the child protective services, or you come as a private independent entity?
Yes,
okay, so from
question.
my understanding of child protective services, if a child is in danger, being abused in a violent situation, someone or the child has to call on child protective services to come intervene, right? Is that how it works? So, but in your company's case, so rather than them calling child protective services, your company can also step in the place of child protective services to offer services?
Child protective services will be called by an adult, usually.
Okay.
So it's usually the school or like usually the parents, like if one parent is abusive and the other parent isn't, the parent that's not abusive will call Child Protective Services on the parent that is abusive, like a husband, a wife, an ex-partner, ex-wife, ex-husband, and or some family member. But Child Protective Services, for the most part, they have to see drugs. They have to see the abuse right in front of them. And I have to say, a lot of the time, a lot of these parents, they know how to abuse their child where you don't see anything on them. Nothing.
True.
My mother would beat me. How many times I would go to the doctor and I would have no marks, no bruises, she already did that to me. And they were healed by the time I would go to a doctor because I was sick. I would be sick a lot as a child. Colds, upper respiratory infections, strep throat. And, yes, kids get sick, but when you get sick all the time, something's going on at home, So we at Osso Safe, we are empowering the child, where the child can speak out on behalf of their own abuse. Don't wait for mom and dad, because mom and dad are the ones that are attacking you. They're the ones that are abusing you. And you should have a say on your own safety, your own life. And children know who make them feel safe. So we are empowering the child to use their voice and to educate them that they have choice when it comes to their home life. So we're saying at Osso Safe, with our core product, the Osso Safe certification for properties, which entails the Osso Safe Home Sweet Home package for properties. Forget the laws, forget the courts, forget the judges, forget Child Protective Services. They fail child victims over and over again. Otherwise, why are 5 children being murdered every single day? If those judges and courts and Child Protective Services were doing their job, that would not be happening. 2-year-old Kira Franchetti, 3-year-old Bella Bond, 6-year-old Zymia Perkins, 7-year-old Julissa Batiste, 7-year-old Nix Mary Brown, 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery. They're all dead. Those are just, 7 children that I just mentioned? And in all of them, Zuki, Child Protective Services was involved. The courts were involved. Judges were involved. They're all murdered. Murdered. Children. Why? Why? If they had our services and products in their property, we would have empowered the child, and children know who make them feel safe. From teeny tiny, even if they can't speak, they know who make them feel safe. So we're saying at Osso Safe, if you have no one to go to, be patient. We're working as fast as we can. But if you have an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a close family friend that's willing to take you in, willing to take care of you, speak out. Don't go home. Call 911 and say, Mom just hit me. Dad just beat me. I just got raped by my stepfather. I don't want to be here. I have auntie, uncle, a grandparent, a close family friend. Bring me to them. That's where I want to live. Because otherwise, if we wait until the child is 18 years of age, which is what the system does, judges, courts, Child Protective Services, if we wait until they're 18, the child is going to take drugs, alcohol, get involved with the wrong people, self-harm. They'll start self-mutilating. They will get involved with gangs. They will be trafficked. And ultimately, they'll commit suicide. Why? Why? When children know who make them feel safe from teeny tiny, empower them, give them voice, remove them from that horrific, toxic environment. and get them to an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a close family friend that they want to go to. So,
right.
and they don't even want any money from the parents. Forget all of that. Forget all. And the schools, I have to say, the schools are also at fault because they cater to the abusive parents, abusive step parents. They are there for the student. Empower the student, listen to the student,
Right.
allow them a safe environment to say what is going on at home, and we're not going to call child protective services. We want to help you, little Sally, little Timmy. Who is it that you feel safe with? Because I could tell you, child protective services, they do more harm than good, really. Along with the courts, you know.
Right. So what you're saying is the school system has a huge role to play in correcting this issue. So
Yes.
teachers should be open to listen to students, ask them how they're doing at home. But one thing I've realized is some children from abusive families, right, don't even know they're being abused because
I know.
culturally,
Yeah.
right, depends on where you come from. Culturally, there's an element of discipline, even like religiously as well. There's a the Bible says, spare the rod and spoil a child, right? So most kids grow up knowing that, oh, if I do something wrong, I get a whooping, right? And their young minds are probably, they're still too young to understand there's a difference between getting a whooping and getting abused. If you get a whooping for doing something, something really bad, I'm not a parent, so let me not even say it's okay, but at least like there should be a threshold within which it falls into abuse and not just discipline, right? So for some children, they're so used to being with aggressive parents, such that their parents go across that line of abuse, like really hitting them and doing terrible things to them. And afterwards, they tell them, oh, I love you. Don't call child protective services. Don't tell the police. Don't tell your teachers. Otherwise, they'll take you away from me. And just all of those fear tactics into the child, right? And such kids might come to school and never open up to their teachers or anyone, even though they're being abused. So in such situations, what do you advise? And does your company work closely with schools, with the school system, like being there for the teachers and telling them techniques and tactics to use to get all this kind of information from the children so that they can seek help?
We have 2 social media platforms where we cater only to children. It's our YouTube and our TikTok, where we educate kids. We speak openly about abuse, about violence, about if you are of dating age, what constitutes a good relationship, what are the warning signs of a bad relationship. So it's a space where we openly talk about, look, if dad just beat you up or mom beat you up, call 911. There's a difference between discipline and abuse. So when you're saying a whooping, that's abuse. I'm Italian, full-blooded Italian. Both of my parents were born and raised in Italy. And it's very normal culturally where you get beaten with a wooden cooking stick or the shoe. My mother would take off her shoe and beat me, just getting smacked across the face on your back. Bitten. That's all abuse. Oh yeah, bitten. Yeah, bitten. When I look back, I think, oh my gosh, and never mind the name calling, So children understand what they did wrong just by yelling, and even yelling is attacking them. Discipline instills education. Abuse instills fear. There's a big difference. So you want to discipline your child. Yes, you have to teach them right from wrong. Like, we don't punch, you don't throw things on the floor. And when children are in a tantrum, like they're screaming, they're carrying on, they're trying to tell you something. Either they're hungry, or they got bullied at school, or maybe they got teased, or maybe they want to take a nap, or maybe they want you to spend time with them. but they don't know how to say it. So they'll start to throw things or, like carry on, but you don't beat them. You don't put them down.
True.
You don't. Then you say, look, okay, have your screaming fit, but when you're ready to speak to me in a calm voice, I'm going to be right here. And you don't attack them even more. That's just, it's like you're not going to get anywhere, and it's just going to cause more abuse. So these are things that we educate with our products and services. And I want to say again, discipline instills education, abuse instills fear. A lot of parents think, well, my child has to respect me, so I'm going to beat them, I'm going to
Bully
yell
them.
at them. I'm sorry?
I said bully. Some parents bully their kids too.
Yes, and that's bullying your child is a form of abuse. So children will understand if you speak to them in a way that is respectful and in a way that is, look, you can tell them, like, before you go into the store, tell them, mommy, mommy, daddy, I can't buy everything for you. You can buy one thing, choose one thing, and we're not going to scream. We're not going to cause a scene, because that's disrespectful and it's embarrassing for me and for you. Can we agree that I'll buy you one thing or two things, and it's not because I don't want to get it for you, more things, it's because I don't have the money to get it for you, and I want to be fair. Children will understand that, and they'll say, oh, it's not because I'm bad, it's because mommy and daddy can't afford it. They'll understand if you explain it to them. So all of these things we explain and we teach and we repeat. So it has to be repetitive. And the number one rule that we teach at Osso Safe, and we teach it to parents, and even at school, respect has to be taught, and respect is the key ingredient in a safe household. So I hope I kind of I know what you're talking about culturally. I know you're not I love your
I'm
accent.
from Nigeria, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know about culture, but it's wrong. Whether it's Italy or Nigeria or Sierra Leone or in Pakistan or Brazil, discipline instills education.
Yeah.
Abuse instills fear.
How can we help parents? Because honestly, I feel like parents just hand down what was taught them or done to them by their parents, right? So it's just a generational cycle. So dad always whooped me when I did something wrong. Mom whooped me, and after whooping me, they tell me, "Oh, I'm doing it because I love you. I want to correct you," right?
Right. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, because you know, it's an excuse when parents say, "Well, that's how my mom and dad were, or my stepmom, stepdad. That's how I learned." No. Because if you dig just a little bit deeper, you ask those parents, well, how did you feel as a child when you got your quote unquote whooping, or your dad or mom were right in your face and don't you ever, and or beaten on your back, or like you felt fear. You felt like you did everything wrong. You felt like you were the worst thing on the planet. What a horrible feeling for a child, and you don't want to repeat the cycle. So that should be your motivation, and to educate you as a parent that, look, I can tell you, kids, what their parents say and do, they listen and they learn by example. So how you act and what you say, they're going to repeat it. They're like a sponge. So, but if you show them like going back to the example, and thank you for saying that, you explain it to them. Look, please understand, it's not that I'm punishing you. I don't have the money, and I would want to buy you more things, but let one thing be okay, or two things be okay, and then maybe do some role playing. You be the kid and tell the kid you be the parent. How would you want me to act? And I can tell you, I bet you that kid would even understand even more, like, that's why my mommy and daddy want me to not carry on in the store. And that way they understand. And then when they act well, reward them and say, my gosh, little Timmy, little Sally, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for not embarrassing us. You got one thing. You were smiling. I'm so proud of you. I can tell you, that kid, both of you will be crying happy tears like, we did it. You know, reward them emotionally. They'll understand. Feel like we adults don't credit children enough at all. You know, we think that they're stupid. We think that they don't understand. We think that they need to be attacked. We don't give children enough credit, you know, and you don't want to repeat the cycle of abuse. 1 out of 3 women will be beaten or raped in her lifetime. 1 out of 5 adolescent girls is abused by her boyfriend. 1 out of 3 young people will be in an abusive relationship. 1 out of 7 men is abused. I told you about the 15 million children that witness violence. 5 children a day are killed in this country alone, murdered at the hands of an abusive parent under the watch of a court, a child protective service agency. Trust me, we don't need more abuse, more violence, more chaos, more dysfunction. What we need is understanding. We need patience. We need empowerment. We need positivity. You want your kid to do better as a human being? Well, violence is not going to do it. Abuse is not going to do it. Positivity, empowerment, encouragement, freedom of choice, respect, safety is going to do it. You know, so, and with schools, same thing. Schools cater to the parent way too much. It's listen to the child. If your student is acting out at school, if they are doing badly, and you know what, you can't even judge it from that, like grade wise. Like, I got good grades, but my home was hell, absolute hell. So you can't even say, oh well, if the child has good grades, it means that they're safe at home. I can tell you, I was a good student and home was hell. So, but if the child is exhibiting like bad eating habits, sleeping habits, the child can't focus, the child is a recluse, the child is like scared, things are going on at home, bad things, you know? So empower the student. And I know this sounds weird, but I'm speaking from personal and professional experience. Schools have to stop calling child protective services. They have to stop. It makes matters worse. It's more about listening to the child and asking that child, is there anybody that you feel safe with? Like, if it's not mom, not dad, not stepmom, not stepdad, who do you feel safe with? And keep asking. If they're quiet, ask them today. They say, no, I'm safe with mom and dad. Okay, ask in a couple of days. Who do you feel safe with? And it's part of our children's book, by the way, to ask these questions, like empowering the child. I assure you, the truth will come out if you keep asking and you create that safe environment. ask in a week, 10 days, a month, that child will say, I'm safe with auntie. Get them to auntie then.
So how does it
And say,
No, sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No,
No, go
so
ahead, go ahead.
so okay, so in this situation, get them to auntie, but there has to be like a legal backing to be able to do that, right? Because you can pick up a child from their parents and move them somewhere else. So shouldn't the legal system be involved still in that scenario? Shouldn't the teacher
With
involve
our,
CPS or
no. We created a product called the Osso Safe Certification for Properties, which entails
Okay.
the Osso Safe Home Sweet Home package. And this is what it is. I'll explain. So that, because everything, Zuki, gets resolved right in residency. You don't need the courts, you don't need the laws, you don't need the judges, you don't need child protective services. And what it is we are introducing this into the real estate market, the real estate industry. And we're saying to property owners, property managers, landlords, tenants, hire us, we'll get your property Osso Safe certified. What does that mean? The property owner purchases the Osso Safe Home Sweet Home package, and it consists of a policy, a seminar, the app, and therapists assigned to the property. So the policy, just to give a brief definition of those 4 components, the policy basically states, I as a landlord, as a property owner, I promise to provide you a safe space for you to live. You in turn as my tenant, as my resident, you promise to not act in any way, shape, or form abusively. Otherwise, you, the abuser only, gets immediately evicted from the premises, and we go into full knowledge knowing that that would be the consequences. So you sign it. It's in the policy. It's an addendum to existing leases, existing mortgages, existing contracts, if you will. The second component is a seminar. The Osso Safe Home Sweet Home Seminar. Everybody gets educated, Zuki, adults and children alike, on facts, statistics, warning signs, definitions of abuse, the difference between abuse and discipline, what constitutes a good relationship, what are the warning signs of a bad relationship. So that way, no adult in your property can say, I didn't know if I pulled my partner's hair, that means I'm being abusive. Now you know. And with the policy and the seminar, children, we empower children. We tell them straight out, your child has power. So if they say to us, and maybe they'll lie right now. They're gonna lie right now. Yes, a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 15-year-old. Yeah. No. I'm safe with mom and dad. But they're scared. And we know that abusive parents, abusive step-parents can only keep their poker face on for so long. Rest assured, those abusive true colors come out pretty quickly, and we're gonna know who's abusive and who's not abusive. So we empower the child. Our book is a staple.
Okay.
A staple in the property. So it is a requirement. It's part of the certification. In the book, we say, think about who you feel safe with. And we teach them in the seminar, in the child, all children of all ages, who do you feel safe with? And we plant the seed in their psyche. Is it mom, dad, stepmom, stepdad? You don't have to say right now. If you're too scared to say, that's okay. But start saying your cheer. I want to live where I am Osso safe, and I am Osso safe with an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a close family friend. So we say that in the book. We say that, like, think about it. Think, who do you feel safe with? You know who makes you feel safe and free and respected and good. You kids know. So we're empowering them, and we are introducing this concept. You know, if you're too scared to say, that's okay. You don't have to say anything to empower them and to get to plant the seed. And we explain about respect and disrespect, abuse and non-abuse. So we're explaining it to them. So that's a very important component of the book. And we do that in the seminar. And we tell them, you don't have to wait till you're 18 years of age. If you feel safe with an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a close family friend, we're going to get you to that person because you, the child, have spoken. You're saying it. So I just want to finish the components. So we have the policy, the seminar, the app.
Okay.
I hired a software company to detect violent-like movements, the app. It's the Osso Safe app. And it will send alerts to the property owner, the landlord, and say, whoa, I just saw you beat the crap out of her in my unit 2, and you just beat the crap out of him in my unit 10. That constitutes abuse. You gotta go. You knew that this was going to happen. I have to protect all of my other tenants. This mitigates liability, maintains property reputation. So you're out of here. Then the fourth and final component is therapists. You are required in an Osso Safe certified property to check in with your therapist once a month. Is everything okay? Do you feel like anything is looming? Well, Mr. and Miss Therapist, actually our kid came home with bad grades. We don't know how to handle this. We know we're not going to beat him up. We're not going to verbally disparage him because we live in an Osso Safe certified property. We know better, but help us through this because we really don't know how to handle this. So therapy is part of your residency. So that way you are empowered. These are tools. So with all of these components working together, our sign gets placed outside of the property so that way people know, wow, I know what that logo means. I would rather raise my child in an Osso Safe certified property versus one that isn't, because they have the mechanisms and the systems in place in case violence occurs. My kid is safe, we're safe. This makes for better real estate. So everything gets resolved right in residency. What do you need the courts for if it gets resolved right in residency? Yes, if an abuser refuses to leave, we call the police. The police come, but we have it all on documents, on contracts. You gotta go, and you don't have to live here. If you're an abuser, right, you're not gonna wanna live in one of our properties.
Yeah.
Okay. Then don't. Go to the next property. We're going to be sure that that next property is Osso Safe certified. And the way we see it, Zuki, you need to get evicted out of every single property until you either change your ways or you're homeless. You belong nowhere as far as we're concerned. Because when you live in an abusive atmosphere, it affects you, it affects the neighbors, it affects the people upstairs, downstairs, next door. What are we, barbarians, savages, beasts? We're human beings. When you put that key in your lock, you should feel like it's your sanctuary. You shouldn't feel like, oh, what is going to happen tonight? Is dad going to rape me? Is mom going to get beat up? Are we going to have the police come again? You know, where we have to, you know, there's violence, abuse, chaos, dysfunction? No. We don't tolerate it. And we're flipping the script with our certification because typically what happens now is that abuse happens, the police come, bad news travels fast, and then all of your Osso Safe tenants leave because they're like, we don't want this. We don't want to live here. With our certification, we're flipping all of that. Why should you leave? If you're well behaved, you're respectful, you pay your rent, why should you leave? It's the abuser that has to go, not you, Osso Safe tenant. So we're flipping all of that. We resolve it right in residency. Whether you live in a townhouse, a co-op, a condo, a single-family home, a multi-family dwelling, a two-family home, a villa, a mansion, a mobile home, a dormitory, a senior community, it doesn't matter. Get your property Osso Safe certified. everybody will be better off for it, especially children.
It looks like this is first of its kind, right, in real estate world. So what's the reception been like? Are you getting landlords and apartment complexes to sign up to this, or how's the reception been?
We're
And
still working on it.
much is
Yes.
it? And for someone listening that probably wants to sign up, how can they get that? Like, can you provide all of those information?
Yes. It's $125 per unit, regardless of how many people are in the unit, for the whole package. So if you're a single person or a family of 4 or 5 people, it doesn't matter. It's like the same. So that will buy you the policy, the seminar, the app, and therapists assigned to the property. It's like the first level of Osso Safe certification. It's kind of like laying the groundwork. We don't tolerate abuse in our property. We are educating you, and you are expected to practice respect, safety. So the reception has been very positive. We are marketing it. I'm a real estate agent, so we've been talking to a lot of landlords, a lot of property owners, to buyers and sellers, to tenants, to, as I said, property managers. So I'm doing a lot of podcasts to let people know that we exist and that the products and services exist. So we've been heavy duty marketing it as much as possible. And our intent is to go national and global for sure.
I like it, honestly, and I think it's affordable. $125 for each apartment unit. I mean, it's affordable. Yeah, I think it's a very, very good thing you're doing, because honestly, children are suffering, abuse, people are suffering, in homes where they can't even speak for themselves. But with your package, everything with the seminar, with the therapist, having an assigned therapist, I mean, that is amazing, right? To get the help, to seek everything doesn't have to be violence, like calling the police, calling, child protective services. You can actually resolve it amicably, and, the abuser gets healing, because I believe the therapist will also speak to the abuser,
Yes.
the parent, and also to the child.
Correct.
So I think that's amazing.
Correct.
I
Yes.
hope,
Thank you for seeing that. Yes.
yeah. I hope you get more publicity on this. I hope you go far. You go to television, like just putting it out there. I think it's very useful.
Right.
It'll help, make this world a better place. So I wanted to ask something. So what about people who live in single family homes, not apartment complex?
Yes.
Do they also? Yeah.
Yes, this will apply to all residency. Right now, we are focusing on the landlord-tenant portion of the real estate industry because it's the path of least resistance, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we want this to propagate over all residency. We're talking to mortgage people and insurance companies to make this an incentive, like if you get your property Osso Safe certified, your insurance rates will go down and your property value will go up, because you are taking extra steps to actually get you safe, Osso Safe, and the property Osso Safe. So you should be rewarded for that. So yes, whether it's a single family, whether you're just the owner of the single family, you should be Osso Safe as a property owner, just for yourself. You could be dating somebody, you're a property owner, and with our certification, you're going to know the warning signs, like, wait a minute, he or she is controlling my money. They want to control my money. They want to control how I dress. We just started going out, and because I'm Osso Safe certified, I know better. I don't want that. I live here. I like my house. Oh no, I need to break it off. I know better. That makes for better living, better home living, So yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. It's for all types of residency, single, you're married, not married, gay, straight, whatever your sexual orientation is, however many children you have, whatever the age is. When I was designing my business and creating the products and services, I thought long and hard, what did I need growing up? Mm-hmm. And if I had my own products and services growing up, I can tell you, Zuki, my father and mother would not have gotten away with half the things they got away with if, if I had this growing up, so I hope I answered the question.
Yeah. I guess another thing maybe, because I feel like if abusers, because sometimes I feel like abusers can also be cunning, right? They know a property is also safe certified. They're like, you know what, I can't live there because they're not going to let me, do what I want to do. But if every apartment complex becomes also certified in the nation, then those abusers have no hiding place. You have to get yourself together and do the right thing.
Thank you. Exactly. And that's the intent. Right. Yeah. And we know that you don't want to live here. Okay. But why don't you want to live here? Like, you just outed yourself. Like, you want to beat your wife or your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, and no. Fine. You don't want to live here. Fine. And those kids are already empowered, because we're going to get to those kids. They can get on the TikTok, the YouTube. Maybe they'll have a friend and say, look what I just saw. I know that you're suffering at home and your parents don't let you watch the videos. Watch them on my phone to empower yourself. That's the whole idea, to get those kids to speak out. And we know that they're scared. We know, but let me tell you, Zuki, the laws, the courts, the judges, Child Protective Services, they are supposed to be defending the kids, and they're not. So we're saying, have the kids defend themselves, empower them, have them call 911. Yeah, my mother or father just hit me. They just threw a water bottle at me. They just beat me. They could speak out, and we know it's scary. We know it's scary. But if you have somebody that's willing to take care of you, don't allow your life to be stolen anymore. Get to that person, life is too short. You deserve respect. You deserve to be so safe, kids.
A safe environment at home for their children, because some parents probably don't know. So what can they do to ensure that?
Sure. People could find us on our website. It's ossosafe.com. We're on all the major social media platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. The two that are specifically for kids of all ages is the YouTube and TikTok. They could just Google Sabrina Osso or Osso Safe or Osso Safe Kids. That's a sub-entity under Osso Safe where they have voice and choice, Osso Safe Kids. And that's whether you're safe at home or not safe at home. We speak to kids collectively, because the ones that are safe at home can help the ones that are not safe at home. The book can be found on Amazon.com. It's my only book, so it's very easy to find. And some tools I want to say for parents, for anybody really. Try not to fight in front of your children. You're gonna have disagreements with your partner. Yes, disagreements, conflict, but it should never, ever, ever cross the line of abuse. Not verbal, physical, sexual abuse ever, because it terrifies your children. And abusive parents, I can tell you, they love it when they have kids watching them fight, because it's an audience and they feel powerful. But don't ever fight. And if it's something that's really heated, get the kids with a trusted neighbor, a trusted family, somebody in the family. But you shouldn't be beating on each other. Like, there should be no abuse, nothing. You don't put your hands on anyone. And you could say, look, this is really sensitive for me, so we need to speak in very respectful ways. It's kind of laying the groundwork, for each other, for your partner, your significant other. I want to say, don't ever call anyone a bitch, a slut, a whore, a tramp, a sleaze, a floozy, a bimbo, a thought, a skank.
Bad
all of
words.
that language. Yeah, the labels.
Mm-hmm.
All of that. Don't ever call your children that. Don't ever call girls that. Don't call another woman that. That lays the groundwork for abuse of a woman, of a girl. Like, you deserve it. You made me do this to you. No. It kind of also opens the door for rape. Well, you're a slut. That's why I raped you. No. All of that language has to be removed. I want to say pornography. Pornography is a big driver of violence. Don't expose your kids. Educate your kids that pornography is not a healthy expression of sexual experimentation. You want to have a good sexual experience. We're not saying don't have that. You can have that. It's empowering. That's erotica, but pornography. There is a lot of the perpetrators are men, but a lot of the perpetrators are also women. And there's an entity called BDSM that stands for bondage, domination, sadism, and masochism. These are women doing the sex abusing, and they live among us, Zuki, in our neighborhoods, societies, communities, and they will stop at nothing to get what they want. They are abusive, they are sex abusers, and they are sex traffickers, and they date submissive men, and if those men have children, they move in together, they get married, they have their own children. It's a recipe for disaster, and a lot of people don't know about this, so I've been saying this in our interviews. Don't allow yourself to be involved with a BDSMer. They are poison, and I want to say that this is all pornography. So you want to educate your children that you don't want them to produce or consume pornography. I also want to say that therapy, the right therapist we made it part of our certification, right? So there's no shame in getting help. There's shame in not getting help. So have that as part of your health, your mental health, your physical health, and it'll help your child, So I hope I gave some good tips,
Yes, I think those are fantastic tips to parents. Yeah. Wow, that is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sabrina. I think this was a very enlightening. I couldn't even get the questions out, but I think you spoke a lot and it really resonated a lot with me. Do you have any final words for someone listening? Like maybe anything we didn't touch on you wanted to just add?
Sure. All of us deserve to be in a good relationship. Just because you are a parent, it doesn't give you the right to abuse your child. And we have to practice respect. We have to practice positivity, empowerment, encouragement, freedom of choice, and above all, respect. That has to be practiced, and we make it part of our certification. It's part of the Home Sweet Home package, and to be good to your kids. You be good to your kids will be good to you, and they'll be good to others at school, with each other. We will see to it that Osso Safe becomes a household name. We're working as fast as we can. And to kids, I want to say to kids, speak out on behalf of your own safety. Any kids listening on your podcast, that they are part of your audience. We hear you, and you're not crazy. And check out our YouTube and TikTok, and speak out. Don't go home. Call the police, and let's get you to where you are safe. You deserve that, kids. You deserve that. Osso Safe kids.
Awesome. Fantastic. So can you quickly also say where they can get you? So where can that kid find you? Can they type your website? Yes. Or where can people find you? All your socials?
Yeah. The website, but it's they could just on the TikTok, I believe it's Sabrina Osso. Just Sabrina Osso. I'll come up. on the TikTok and YouTube, Sabrina Osso, and we come up. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they could Google Osso Safe Kids because I use all those hashtags. Osso Safe Kids.
Okay. Good to know. Awesome. Wow, thank you so much, Sabrina. This was a very enlightening episode. I think I learned a lot. It's not domestic violence, it's home violence. Discipline educates, abuse instills fear. What else? Yeah, I learned a lot, like new terms, with this discussion. So I really appreciate it. And I hope people listening would, tap into this. If they are teenagers, kids listening, or even teachers or parents, please, go to Sabrina's website, Osso Safe Kids. Osso Safe, just Google it and just educate yourself, learn, and help yourself, your kids, your family. We can only make this world a better place. I don't think we should leave the world the way we met it. Even if it was culturally passed down to us, we should endeavor to embrace and welcome change, not just for ourselves but for the younger generation coming. So thank you so much, Sabrina, once again. Really appreciate your time here with us. Thank you. And thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate you sticking it out with us. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please give us a like, comment, subscribe, leave us a review, engage with Sabrina's work. Thank you so much for all your support, and we'll see you on our next episode. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophie.